U.S. foreign policy. Let's start with Iran. I've heard Iran referred to as today's Cuban Missile Crisis, and it has a lot of similarities. You've got someone trying to threaten a Western nation directly, aka the U.S. Being threatened by the Russians via Cuba in the Cuban Missile Crisis, and Israel being threatened by Iran and their nuclear program today. So you have well, they keep calling Iran a rogue nation. I'm not sure that has anything that just doesn't seem to apply to me, because Iran's not alone in wanting the destruction of Israel, just like Cuba was not alone in wanting to threaten the United States into doing what they wanted. There's more to it than one nation. I was not alive for the Cuban Missile Crisis, but I've read a little bit about it, just like everybody else. I went through school. And it really does show the inaptitude of Western leaders. Everybody, in the books, it was saying that the leadership of the U.S. didn't back down, this, that, and the other. Really what I think happened was the Russians felt overextended, and they backed off. Because they were discovered, and they said, you know, this isn't buying us anything, and they backed off. I don't think that it was the U.S. stance, really, threatening to blockade the country and threatening to... I don't think it was the United States threatening. I think it was just the fact that it made the media and it made Russia look stupid. And Russia felt overexposed, overextended, and withdrew. That's what I think happened. Iran is never going to feel overexposed and overextended. That's just not in their psyche. So, what's going to solve the Iran-Israeli crisis that we're going through? I have no idea. I'm at a complete loss. I have no answers. There's nothing I can say that will make the situation better. I don't want there to be a war. I don't want there to be a nuclear war between these two countries, because it will escalate into the entire Middle East. And surrounding countries being sucked into a giant vat of misery, and I just don't want to see that. I don't want to be around for that. I don't want that to happen all around, I should say. Moving to China, as another part of our foreign policy. China recently has been eyeballing a bunch of corridors through which oil moves to a bunch of other countries that supply the entire west side of the Pacific Ocean, or the Far East, whatever you want to call it, including Australia. And people aren't real happy about it, because they know that once China exercises its military might, they will put a tax on oil moving through those straits, through those territories. And people will have to start going around the Horn of Africa to get their oil, which will make it more expensive. And that's all that's really going on here. China is not really looking eastward, saying, well, why does the U.S. have all this influence? Well, the reason the U.S. has all this influence is because A, we fought a bunch of wars out there, and we made a bunch of friends, and we've done the homework to try to keep those friends, even though it sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And that's what's going all the way across the Pacific. And China hasn't, though they're doing it. They're doing it. They're moving into the Middle East, and as trade partners, they're moving into Russia as a trade partner, a real trade partner. Even though Russia and China still seem to be at each other's throats, a lot of stuff goes back and forth between those borders, legitimately and illegitimately, just like any other border on the world. So China is exercising their expansion. They want to be the United States of the next century, basically, and more power to them, I say. I can't really dispute the fact that they're putting forth the effort. It looks like they may still be willing to win a war, which the United States is not willing to win a war anymore. So if they take it, then they get it, is what I'm thinking. So I don't know. So something else I've been hearing, the United Nations is trying to take over the internet. The United Nations and the European overlords, whoever they might actually be, are trying to say, Look, China has a death grip on the internet in China. We want the same thing for the Western civilization. And they don't just want it for Europe, because Europeans and Americans talk to each other a lot, so they want Europe and America and Canada and a bunch of other Western nations all to get together and kill freedom on the internet all at the same time, so that it doesn't look like so it looks like something natural. So all your friends are getting their internet killed, your internet gets killed too. And I'm hearing these whispers, and I'm seeing the reports made by some people. And the one that stuck out to me, the one that really has hurt me, is the fact that it looks like they're trying to put a tax on video online, literally trying to tax freedom of speech. So when you upload anything, video, audio, text, they want a tax associated with that, so they can tax your ability to say something online. I don't know what the only thing I haven't heard about this is in what name are they doing this? Are they saying, well, every time they make a big huge change to the internet and limit people's freedoms on the internet, it's always, well, we got to catch the child molesters. And I'm trying to think of how they can make this sound like, oh, we got to catch the child molesters, and I can't draw a line between those two. They'll think of something. They're very brilliant people, and this is what they do. This is all they do. They control masses of people, and they figure out the least amount of work for them, and they try to figure out how to make the people limit their own freedom, and they take advantage of the people limiting their own freedom. That's how these people think. And the whispers are getting louder. So I'm not sure if it's just my paranoia, because any of you who've been watching me for a while know I'm a bit paranoid on these things. But I'm hearing them from sources now that are just out in the world. And the reason this affects me particularly is because A, I put a lot of stuff out online. But just worrying about this, worrying about having to pay a tax, because I'm broke, okay? I can't afford very much of anything else in my life. I'm at the limit. Just staying afloat. And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people at this limit. I can't afford a poll tax. I cannot afford a freedom of speech tax. I cannot afford this. And this is my pulpit. I don't know what to do. There's no one to vote for who can change things, who will change things. I don't know. Anybody out there knows how to express myself besides what I'm doing here, in addition to what I'm doing here, let me know in the comments.